The arena is electric. A sea of roaring fans drowns out the announcer's voice, their cheers colliding in a chaotic symphony of anticipation. The octagon stands under the blinding lights like a battlefield waiting for its warriors. Tonight is no ordinary fight. This is a clash of legacies, an impossible showdown between two of the most dominant forces mixed martial arts has ever seen. On one side, the undefeated, unshakable force of discipline and control. On the other, a pioneer who changed the game with her ferocity, a trailblazer whose armbar became the stuff of nightmares. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Ronda Rousey. Two different worlds, two different styles. Yet somehow, they have collided in a moment that defies logic. As Khabib steps into the cage, there's no emotion on his face. His gaze is locked in, his breathing steady, as if he were about to go on a morning run rather than face one of the most dangerous submission specialists in history. He's been here before. He knows what it means to dominate, to break an opponent's will piece by piece. His foundation is unshakable, his wrestling unparalleled. No one has been able to stop him. No one has had an answer for the suffocating pressure he brings. But tonight, he's facing something he's never seen before, a fighter who doesn't wait, who doesn't hesitate. Ronda Rousey's entire career has been built on finishing fights in the blink of an eye. She doesn't drag her opponents into deep waters. She drowns them before they even have time to react. The moment she enters the cage, the energy shifts. She doesn't walk. She storms forward, shoulders squared, chin slightly tucked, a predator locking onto its prey. There's no fear in her eyes. She's faced doubters before. She's heard the critics, the ones who say she can't compete with someone like him. But she's spent her entire life proving people wrong. Her judo is world-class. Her ability to close the distance is second nature. And her armbar? It's ended careers. She knows that if she can get her hands on him, if she can just create that one moment of vulnerability, history will be made. The referee calls them to the center. They stand just inches apart, two warriors who have conquered their divisions, staring into each other's souls. The contrast between them is striking. Khabib, the quiet storm, the relentless force that has never been stopped. Ronda, the hurricane, the one who strikes before you even see it coming. The crowd is still buzzing, divided between belief and skepticism. Some say this is madness, that there's no way Ronda can handle the relentless wrestling machine in front of her. Others argue that Khabib has never fought someone with submission skills like hers, that his pressure won't matter if he gives her even a fraction of an opening. The referee steps back. A second of silence passes, just a breath, just a pause in time before the storm begins. Then, the sound of the bell cuts through the tension. In an instant, Ronda explodes forward, closing the distance in the blink of an eye, her hands reaching for control. But Khabib is already reacting, his instincts honed by years of grappling with the best in the world. He sidesteps, his hands up, measuring, calculating. The fight is underway, and the world is about to witness something they never thought possible. The opening seconds are a blur. Ronda's explosiveness is like a gunshot, fast, aggressive, and impossible to ignore. She lunges, her grip seeking any part of Khabib she can control. A wrist, a collar tie, even a fraction of his arm would be enough to begin the chain of destruction she's perfected over the years. But Khabib is a different beast. His footwork is deceptively quick, his reactions effortless. He doesn't just evade, he calculates. His mind is a machine, analyzing every movement, every shift in weight. He knows she wants to clinch, to initiate a throw that could put him on his back, but he won't allow it. He circles out, creating just enough space to keep her from latching on, but not so much that he's out of range. It's a dangerous dance, and both fighters know that a single misstep could be the beginning of the end. Ronda isn't used to this kind of resistance. She's fought strong opponents before, champions with years of experience, but they all hesitated just for a second. That's all she ever needed. They blinked, and suddenly they were on the ground, their arms trapped in an unbreakable grip. But Khabib isn't hesitating. He's patient, moving with precision, waiting for his opportunity. It's frustrating. She pushes forward again, feinting high before shooting low, her hands reaching for a hip toss, but Khabib's balance is unshakable. He plants his feet, shifts his weight, and in an instant, he counters his grip iron tight around her waist. For a split second, the crowd gasps. Ronda is lifted off the canvas, her feet momentarily leaving the ground. Khabib's power is undeniable, his ability to control an opponent second to none. But this isn't just any opponent. Before he can complete the takedown, she twists her body in midair, shifting her position in a way that only a lifetime of judo could allow. Instead of crashing down on her back, she lands in a scramble, immediately rolling into a position where she can work. She feels it now, their first real exchange, the first glimpse of who holds the advantage. It's like staring into the unknown, a battlefield where neither fighter is certain of the outcome. The tension is thick, stretching across the cage like an invisible force. Khabib resets, his hands loose, his stance ready. Ronda's breathing is steady, but there's a flicker of something new in her eyes' curiosity. He didn't just overpower her. He adapted, countered in a way that others never could. It excites her. This isn't just another fight. This is something she's never experienced before. The thought sends a surge of adrenaline through her veins. Somewhere in the crowd, the whispers begin. Analysts watching from ringside are exchanging nervous glances, their predictions shifting with each passing second. Before the fight, opinions had been clear-cut. Either Khabib's relentless wrestling would smother Ronda before she could even think about an armbar, or she would find a way to catch him in a moment of vulnerability. But now, it wasn't so simple. There was something different happening here, something neither side had fully prepared for. 1,000 miles away, in gyms across the world, fighters are watching. Some see Khabib's patience, his methodical approach, and nod in understanding. He's sticking to his principles, playing the long game, waiting for the perfect opening. Others see Ronda's aggression, her willingness to dive headfirst into the fire, and admire her fearlessness. They understand the risk, but they also know that risks are what define champions. This is more than just a fight. It's a clash of philosophies, a battle between two warriors whose paths were never meant to cross. Yet here they are, standing across from each other, unwilling to back down. The seconds tick by, stretching the suspense tighter. Then, like a trigger being pulled, Ronda moves again. This time, she's not reckless. She feints, forcing a reaction. Khabib shifts, adjusting for a takedown attempt that never comes. Instead, she uses the split second of adjustment to close the distance, finally getting her hands on him. Her grip locks onto his arm, and for the first time, the possibility of an armbar becomes real. The crowd erupts. Khabib immediately recognizes the danger, his instincts flaring. He doesn't panic. He never does. But for the first time in his career, he's in unfamiliar territory. The tension spikes. Ronda tightens her hold, muscles coiling like a spring ready to snap. Khabib reacts, shifting his weight, his mind racing through every possible escape. The battle isn't over. In fact, It's only just beginning. Khabib feels the shift before it fully happens, the tightening of Ronda's grip, the way her hips start to angle. She isn't just testing the waters anymore. She's committing. The armbar isn't just a possibility, it's an imminent threat. His instincts scream at him to react immediately, to strip the grip, to create a scramble before she can extend. But Ronda isn't giving him time. She's moving with terrifying efficiency, every motion smooth, every detail calculated. For the first time in his career, Khabib feels like he's losing a fraction of control. It's a foreign sensation, unsettling yet sharpening his focus in an instant. His body moves before his mind even fully registers the danger. He shifts his base, his weight pressing forward to stop her from fully locking the submission. But Ronda isn't just relying on brute force, she's setting a trap. The moment he leans in to defend, she switches her angle, transitioning into an even deeper position. The entire arena holds its breath. Then, something happens that no one expects. Instead of completing the armbar, Ronda lets go. It's a decision that defies logic. The submission was inches away from being locked in, a fraction of a second from forcing the unthinkable a tap from Khabib. But instead of chasing the finish, she releases the grip and rolls backward, creating space between them. Khabib immediately scrambles to his feet, eyes sharp, body tense. He isn't hurt, but he's shaken. Not by pain, but by confusion. Ronda stands there, breathing steady, her expression unreadable. The crowd doesn't know how to react. Neither does Khabib. Fighters don't let go of a submission once they have it. That's not how this works. But Ronda had. And she had done it deliberately. The commentators are losing their minds, throwing out theories. Did she miscalculate? Did she feel Khabib resisting and decide not to waste energy? Or was it something else? Something deeper? Khabib's mind races through the possibilities, but one thought keeps pressing itself forward. She wanted him to feel that moment. She wanted him to know that she had him. If that's true, it changes everything. The energy inside the cage shifts again. Khabib, always the composed and measured fighter, finds himself in unfamiliar emotional territory. Ronda is challenging him in a way no one ever has. She isn't just trying to win. She's playing a mental game, forcing him to experience a kind of vulnerability he's never faced before. She wants him to know that she isn't afraid, that she can put him in danger anytime she wants. And it works. For the first time, Khabib isn't just fighting to dominate, he's fighting to prove something. His approach changes. He stops circling as much, stops playing it safe. He steps forward with intent, his strikes sharper, his movements less cautious. If she wants him to acknowledge the danger, he'll do the same to her. But that's exactly what Ronda was waiting for. As soon as he engages, she moves again, her reactions lightning fast. She isn't fighting Khabib's fight anymore. She's dragging him into hers. The battle is no longer just skill versus skill. It's a war of willpower, of psychological warfare, of two unstoppable forces colliding in ways no one predicted. And the outcome? Still as uncertain as ever. Khabib steps forward, his patience burned away by the fire Ronda has ignited. The chess match is over now. It's a fight. He throws a sharp right hand, not just to strike, but to force her into motion, to cut off her angles and dictate where the battle takes place. Ronda reads it, ducks just in time, and counters with a rapid hip toss, the same move that sent countless opponents crashing to the mat. But Khabib isn't like the others. As his body lifts, he twists midair, using the momentum to land on his side rather than his back. Before she can capitalize, he explodes upward, breaking free and forcing them both to reset. A murmur spreads through the crowd. This is different. The pattern of the fight keeps shifting, morphing into something neither fighter has fully prepared for. It's no longer just grappler versus grappler, nor striker versus submission artist. It's two champions, stripped of comfort zones, fighting on pure instinct. The reality settles over both of them. Winning tonight won't just be about skill. It'll be about endurance, adaptation, and who's willing to push further into the unknown. Then, in a flash, Khabib makes his move. He feints low, baiting Ronda into reacting, then drives forward with a level change so fast it seems almost inhuman. He wraps his arms around her legs, lifts, and slams her down with a force that shakes the canvas. The crowd erupts. Ronda immediately scrambles, her body twisting to create space, but Khabib is relentless. His pressure is suffocating, his control absolute. For the first time in the fight, Ronda is exactly where she didn't want to be, on her back with Khabib on top. The seconds feel like an eternity. Khabib begins his work, shifting his weight, advancing position. His hands trap one of her wrists, his forearm pressing into her jaw to break her base. Every movement is calculated, every transition designed to wear her down. Ronda fights back with everything she has, bucking her hips, creating angles, but Khabib is a storm pressing forward, drowning out every escape. And then, just when it seems like Khabib is about to break her completely, Ronda does something that no one, not even Khabib, sees coming. Instead of continuing to resist, she suddenly stops. Her body goes limp for half a second, her frame softening just enough to make Khabib believe she's given in. It's an old judo trick, a final act of deception. The moment Khabib adjusts, shifting ever so slightly to secure an even stronger position, she explodes. Using his own weight against him, she shifts her legs, trapping his arm in a flash, locking her hips, and throwing everything into one last, desperate armbar attempt. The arena collectively gasps. Khabib reacts instantly, pulling back, but Ronda is locked in, squeezing with every ounce of strength left in her. His arm is extended, his muscles strained, the submission closer than it has ever been. But Khabib doesn't tap. With a guttural roar, he plants his feet, lifts Ronda off the ground and slams her down with everything he has. The impact rattles through her spine, and for the first time in the fight, her grip falters. That split second is all Khabib needs. He yanks his arm free, immediately transitions, and before Ronda can react, he takes her back. The crowd is in a frenzy, half screaming in disbelief, half unable to process what's unfolding before them. Ronda tries to turn, but Khabib's grip tightens. With unshakable precision, he secures a rear naked choke. His arms lock in, his squeeze relentless. Ronda fights it, her hands desperately trying to peel away his grip, but the exhaustion is too much. The battle has taken everything out of her. Then, with no other option left, she taps. The bell rings. The fight is over. For a moment, the world is silent. Khabib releases the choke and steps back, breathing hard, his expression unreadable. Ronda rolls to her side, staring at the ceiling, her chest rising and falling in deep, heavy breaths. The war is over, but there's no shame in her eyes, only exhaustion, only the understanding that she gave everything she had. The crowd erupts. Some cheer in triumph, others in admiration. Khabib, still catching his breath, looks down at Ronda, then extends a hand. Without hesitation, she takes it. He pulls her up, and for a moment, they just stand there, warriors who have pushed each other beyond their limits. And then, In an unexpected moment that no one could have predicted, Ronda smiles. Not out of defeat, but out of something deeper respect. Khabib, ever the stoic, nods back. There are no words exchanged, but none are needed. The fight will be remembered for years to come, not just for the winner, but for the way both fighters refused to break. It wasn't just about skill or strength. It was about resilience, about the willingness to walk through fire and come out the other side changed. As Khabib's hand is raised in victory, and Ronda takes a deep breath before stepping out of the cage, one thing is clear: this wasn't just another fight. This was a war that neither of them will ever forget. And neither will the world.